guys, welcome back. So I got some parts in this week, mainly all the parts that I needed besides my injectors. So we're just going to jump right into it here. I'll go through the parts with you quickly, and then I'm going to take the oil pan off and get that bung welded in, and we should be able to make some good leeway here. So I got this kind of figured out for the oil feed. It's still not completely right. It works for now. I don't like this setup. I'm going to get something else, but for now it'll work for startup and stuff. I also got my wastegate here. Pull this out. Right now there's a 6-pound spring in there. May have to go bigger, but I'm not sure with this turbo because it is big, but it's not big. Also, one major thing, I got this all done. Haven't loaded anything onto it yet because I haven't had power to it. So when I get this turbo and everything on, and the intake manifold back on, hopefully you guys can hear me okay, but I just have the heater going. I'll be starting the car up to get some oil running through the turbo, and I hope mainly with the soldering on the NIS tune is good because it wasn't that hard to actually solder, but it's just hard to get the old solder off. And another thing, I got my blow-off valve here, and I never realized, but this might actually not be the proper blow-off valve, but we're gonna give it a go anyway. I think this is like for a pro charger or a supercharger, but we're gonna give it a go anyway. It's got different springs and stuff, and I gotta weld on this onto my intercooler piping. You can get intercooler piping with the flanges already welded on online if you don't have a welder, so look into that. Also got this. I don't think this might not be right, but this is a solid transmission mount, polyurethane. So I might be putting that in too. I believe that's all I had. Oh, I'm also gonna try. I'm gonna try with that exhaust manifold stud, just because it's bothering me. So hopefully I don't screw that up. But if I can't get it out with these, then I'm just gonna leave it. It is what it is. So yeah, next time you see me, I should have the oil pan took out, and I'll let you guys know how that went. And yeah. Okay, so just a quick update of where I'm at. I took out the radiator and the shroud because, well, I have that new water pump to put in, and honestly it only takes 5 minutes to take it out, and it makes your life a whole lot easier. It gives you so much more room to work with. So I do that. Yeah, that's for my water pump. When you're getting ready to take out the oil pan, you see, and I had a block under the crank that was in my way, obviously, so I just jacked it up to the point where I think it's high enough. I can come back and jack it up later if I need to more. And then I just stuck a piece of wood underneath the motor mount in there, so just a little spacer to keep it up. There's also a bracket right there. I took that one off, just left the bolts in there. Brackets right there, just laying on the motor mount. And then on this side, same scenario. It's also bolted to the transmission. They're down here. If you get underneath the car, you can kind of see it. And that has to come off to get the oil pan off. You can weld it, the bung in there with the oil pan on, but I wouldn't recommend it just because when you drill your hole, you risk getting metal shavings in the oil pan, and I mean, if you want a healthy motor, it's just not something you want to do or risk. So just better to take the extra half an hour, 40 minutes to do it and do it right. So also I noticed the starter, zoom in a bit here for you. Starter's tight, but I guess these bolts right here that hold the casing on, you can see, are loose, so That's got to be fixed. Good thing I noticed that, but yeah, we're making progress. And the next time you see me, I should have the oil pan out. Okay, so I've got the oil pan out, and it's actually a lot bigger process than what I thought. So you do have to take the oil pickup off to slide it out, which is it's just two 12mm bolts and then one 10mm. It's not too hard. I jacked my engine up quite a bit. Like I just put wood underneath the motor mounts. I would recommend an engine hoist, but I left mine at home, so I just used the jack to get it up high enough to get some wood under there. And then now's a good time to check your bearings and all that. Make sure you can even run some boost without blowing it up within the first day. But I got my oil pan here draining, so you can see there's a baffle here. I'm gonna want to run just above that baffle, so I'm gonna drill a hole right here somewhere, and it can all drain in just on top of this. If you don't have a welder, you can drill your hole. I'll show you. You can drill your hole just a bit smaller whenever it focuses. So you can drill your hole a bit smaller than your threads. You can thread it in. I really wouldn't recommend it. I'd just weld it in, but it's all up to you. If it's something you can't do, you can't weld it in. Or if you have a flange type style drain, you can drill your hole through, and then say this is a flange style type, feed it through your hole, and then drill your bolt holes and bolt it up that way, and make sure you use some RTV. I don't know exactly how much clearance we have here, but in reality, welding it in is your best choice. So yeah, I got that out. It's quite a bit bigger pain than what I thought. Now is a good time to check your screen too. Like I have a little piece of metal here. I don't know what that is. I think it's metal. Maybe it's just a hair. Oh no, that's a piece of metal. Not quite sure what that is. But yeah, clean up your screen. This one looks pretty clean besides that little piece. And yeah, everything looks good there. And then you're going to want to re-RTV it, and yeah, but I would definitely recommend removing. You're going to have to remove your radiator and your shroud. There's just no way you're going to get it out without it, because you have to come up and over this sway bar. So you have to take this stuff out. But this is probably the hardest part of doing this turbo build, just because of the amount of work you have to actually do. Also on the back of the pan, so where these two bolts here, where they meet up with the transmission, it's really tight. Like I couldn't get my 3/8 drive 10mm socket in there. They're all 10 mil. So what I did is I used my 1/4 inch, wherever I put it, my 1/4 inch drive, and a really long extension for it. And you can get them out that way. It's still really tight, but it does work. So you don't have to remove any transmission bolts or take out the flex plate or whatever that plate's called between the transmission, the sandwich plate. So just keep an eye on that. It's pretty tight, at least it was for me. But yeah, so I'm gonna get set up for welding here. We'll get this done. I'm gonna check my bearings, make sure everything's all good there, and yeah, get to it. Okay, so I got the pan all cleaned up. I just cleaned up this RTV that was around here. I got my hole drilled. I cleaned up the bottom a little bit. I might paint it, but I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Still gotta clean out like these metal shavings in here. I'm just gonna blow it out with the air compressor and go around it with some brake clean and make sure to get rid of all these shavings and stuff. But yeah, I'm just gonna weld this in, so I'll just set you guys up for that. Okay, so I got that done. It's not too bad. There's a little spot. It looks like hammered dog shit right there. I got it a little too hot and I couldn't reach in there with my nozzle, but it's oil tight anyway. It shouldn't leak. I also trimmed this down a little bit with my grinder so it wouldn't stick as far into the pan. I was just kind of afraid it would hit the girdle or something, so just trim that down a bit. And yeah, now I just have to clean it up, let this cool down a little bit. I might toss some paint on this too, just stop some of this rusting so we don't have any extra holes that we need. And yeah, I'll come back to you once that's done, and then we'll put everything back in the car. Okay, so just a little progress update. Just did some quick painting here. Got these painted, whatever. I got the bolts out of this water pump, so that's ready to come out for the new one. Got the new one right here. Oil pan, I'm just waiting for this to dry for an hour, so it's just a little less sticky, and then it won't make such a mess trying to put it back on. And yeah, just cleaned up this. I believe that's it. So I'm gonna get. This actually ended up taking a little longer than what I thought. I just gave it a quick coat of paint too. So I might just get this done tonight and the water pump, and that'll be it for this episode. But this was mainly the hardest part. I was actually struggling trying to get this off, but believe me when I tell you, you can drill the hole with the oil pan still on, but I really wouldn't recommend it. I mean, if it's a risk you want to take, go ahead, but for the extra hour I spent taking this out, I think it was well worth it. I know for sure there's no shavings in my pan. It's nice and clean in there, and yeah, that's just a peace of mind type thing for me. But it's all up to you guys. But yeah, I'm gonna get this pan on once that stuff dries, and I'll get back to you guys. Okay, so I got the oil pan on. That was another process. If you're doing it the way I'm doing it and taking it off, you have to slide your oil pan in almost in place. Don't put it on. and then you have to, while your oil pan is in place, kinda, you have to put your oil pickup tube on and make sure that's all tight, and then you put on your oil pan. I had a little struggle with it. It's a pretty tight spot. It actually took me a lot longer than I thought it would. I've been here for probably 5 hours now. But between paint drying and I repainted the oil pan and this RTV, you gotta wait an hour before you put it on, so there's a couple hours gone there, but overall it's probably a 3-hour job if you have the gasket, but I didn't have the gasket. So I also got the new water pump on, you can see there. It's not RTV'd around, there's an actual gasket on it. I just put the RTV on it to keep the gasket on. Well, I just put a thin layer on to keep it on so it didn't slip off there while trying to put it on. And I put a little coat of paint on these too, just to make it look a little nicer. But that's the hardest part done, or what I think is the hardest part. And yeah, but we've got our bung on there, so that's good to go. And the next episode we should be, I just have to put the motor back on its mount, and we'll be mounting the turbo, putting the drain line on. I tried to get that stud fixed again, but I couldn't get it, so I'm just gonna leave it. If it becomes a problem later, I'll fix it, but for right now I don't think it's an issue. And yeah, next episode we'll get all this stuff sorted out and we should be good to go. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.